Welcome to the Shabby And Man podcast. We are partners, parents, podcasters, broadcasters,
and everything else in between.
And today's episode of the Shabby And Man podcast looks at nepotism. It looks at what's going on in Bollywood. I think we are inspired by all the stories that...
I think there's been one major topic all of this week, which has been the suicide of Sushant Singh Rajput.
That's right. He was a 34-year-old Bollywood actor who killed himself. And following Sushant's death, it's really opened up a can of worms. People are talking about mental health. People are talking about nepotism because
these are the two main issues.
These are the two main issues. And I think we'll talk about mental health in a different episode. Today, we want to concentrate on nepotism. We want to concentrate on what we know about nepotism, how we think it works, because we are part of the media as well. And I'd like to think that between the two of us, We've
touched on music, publishing, writing,
radio, television, broadcasting.
And
life.
And we do know that there is nepotism, in inverted commas, definitely.
In every profession.
Actually, right. It's not just in these professions, in every profession.
In every profession. But we only have first-hand experience of, if we can say, we know about in our profession, so we're going to talk about that.
No, talking about mental health and taking your own life. You do remember that maybe 20 years ago?
Yeah.
We were all very young.
Yeah.
And a very close friend of ours, our producer, my producer, I don't know if it was
your producer from a radio show.
From my radio days, took his own life as well. And I remember the impact, what actually happened, and how, it was...
Yeah, we were all in our early 20s. Well, you were not in your early 20s, slightly considerably older, but we were
I was in my late 20s.
Okay, late 20s. But he was exactly my age, and we were all in our early 20s. And I think we were just not...
It really knocked us for a six. Yeah. Because we had no inkling.
We had no experience of that, because 20 years ago, mental health was not spoken about at all, and especially in a place like India. Now things have still changed considerably, and it completely took us by surprise, and we didn't see any of the warning signs because we were far too young, far inexperienced ourselves. But in the light of what Sushant has done...
No, but in hindsight, then suddenly, about I think 2 weeks before that, he was sending me these strange poems. And and then when you piece it all together, you could tell that there was something bugging him,
troubling him, and there was more on his mind than he was definitely letting on. And later on we found out that it was family issues and a lot of personal stuff that he never shared with us. And so we can put it in context, but in context of Sushant Singh's suicide, nepotism is something that everyone's talking about, and Bollywood is getting a very hard time.
Pages and pages and loads of stuff on social media about nepotism. I feel that there seems to be a little, like a change. There's a wave of change coming.
There's people clamoring for change.
Now, whether it happens,
happens or not, we don't know. But let's talk about some of the big names in Bollywood that are really, really getting it badly from all sides. Karan Johar is one of them.
The star kids.
Yeah. The star kids, and Karan Johar has been, people are kind of really going after him, saying that he only works with star kids. And
it's a known fact. I mean, there's a little clip of him saying that, I think, was it Ayushmann Khurrana?
Yeah.
Who said that when he applied and he went for audition, they said, sorry.
Yeah, he was told in so many...
We only work with famous actors or something.
Or he said that, I was given a very strong vibe which said that you don't belong to the dharma ethos, which was very evident that, you don't come from any filmy family, or you don't have any connections, or you don't fit into what the kind of people who we want to promote and work with.
But I thought you were a Karan Johar fan.
I was. I have to say that I probably still am to a certain extent, in the sense that I loved his boy, An Unsuitable Boy. That came out 2-3 years ago.
His book, you mean?
His book.
I loved his boy.
Not his boy. I like his boy as well, by the way. We've seen a fair amount of his boy and his girl on Instagram over the lockdown, but we're not going there. I loved his book, An Unsuitable Boy, because it gave me a glimpse into a life that I knew nothing about. And
it can't be Unsuitable Boy. That's Vikram Seth. It must be Suitable Boy.
Vikram Seth's is a suitable boy. His is an unsuitable boy.
Oh.
That's the point. And he has,
You're right.
I think he is very vocal about a lot of issues that he had growing up. You know, his sexuality was something that comes into play much later, but he talks about being this awkward, with his parents, his mom and dad's only son, a son who came along very late in their lives, and therefore he was pampered to the hilt. And he talks about being very arty at the start, not being the typical boy, and always being given a hard time for that. He talks about how he was surrounded by these film folk, because, you know, he's Aditya Chopra's first cousin. He was surrounded by these filmy people.
His dad was a producer.
His dad was a producer, but dad was a failed producer. So I think he talks very candidly about these things, but he also says somewhere down the line that I make the kind of movies that I do, it is because these things for me are not just reflecting a bubble. They are aspirational, but for me that is my reality,
was his
because
reality.
I am that stuck-up South Bombay kid who used to really look down on people who spoke only in Hindi, and I used to think, oh my God, please. I was that brat. You know, I'm not proud of it.
So you enjoy his books and his animated
I thought he was very candid.
But I was never a huge fan of the chat show format.
Yeah, the chat show format I was never a huge fan of.
I mean, it's interesting to see people, no doubt.
You know, even his films, I enjoyed them, but they were never the kind of films that we absolutely had to go and watch. I think in case of Zoya Akhtar, in case of Farhan Akhtar, there are certain directors who I feel, iski to movie dekhni hai.
No, but Karan Johar does a good weepy.
He does a good weepy, and you do enjoy watching it. I'm not lying. But I think what really came to the forefront only when Ayushmann Khurrana brought it up was the fact that if you are going to be that director who doesn't give outsiders even a chance, if he's so blatant about being nepotistic and so clearly proudly so, thinking that no one can touch me because we are all in this bubble, we are all in this extremely, rarefied atmosphere where no outsider is ever going to come and knock on our doors. That is unfair. When you're excluding outsiders even from competing with you. Forget about how they actually fare. If they don't get a chance to showcase their talent, how is the box office even going to judge them? But
it is a very hard door to open.
It is. And that's what makes, I think, people like Shah Rukh Khan and all those outsiders who came from Delhi, who didn't have a father figure or didn't have a famous family name.
It means that much more.
It means that much more. But I think, when we talk about nepotism, like we said, we've seen it in virtually every aspect in life, and it exists everywhere. Soni Razdan, in a post yesterday, in a Twitter...
As in Alia Bhatt's mum.
Alia Bhatt's mum, in a Twitter rant, she was replying to Hansal Mehta. She brought up a point where she said that it's all very well for people to go about, knocking these star kids and saying, oh, they're only here because of nepotism and all of that. But if an outsider comes into Bollywood and makes it big, there's a big if there that needs to be debated first. Yeah. But if an outsider comes and makes it big, and tomorrow his children decide to go into showbiz, what is he going to, or is she going to not allow them? Ki, Arey nahi, then people will think it's nepotism, beta, don't go. That's not going to happen, is that? But I think she missed the point there, which is...
Yeah, but that's like saying, that if I own a shoe shop,
yeah,
and my kids decide to become cobblers,
yeah,
I understand that.
Yeah.
But Bollywood, baap ko dukaan nahi hai, if you know what I mean.
And it is something that is run on merit. There is absolutely no guarantee that because your dad was a very good actor, or your father was a very big producer, or is a very big producer, or your mother was the diva of the day.
Because it doesn't happen in the West that much. You don't really see star kids.
We were looking at, I could only think of the Douglases, Michael Douglas, Kirk Douglas.
There are quite a few, but no one really,
not as many as there are in Bollywood, right? And so I really think that this debate needs to go somewhere. People are saying that Sushant's suicide shouldn't be in vain. This should really highlight how things have been working in Bollywood up until now, and outsiders should be judged on merit, because at the end of the day, I think Ayushmann Khurrana is still having the last laugh, because slice of life movies, as they are described in Bollywood, are having their day in the sun. They are making the money.
See, I agree with you, but I also disagree with you.
Why is that?
The fact that it's true, they are having their day, and it's great that they're all coming forward.
But they're making so much money.
But they're all small budget movies. All those big banners, those huge blockbusters.
No, that's true. But this is only the start.
They're all
of
in-house.
the revolution.
You've got the Salman Khan's making this, and the...
No, but you know what? This is only the start of the new wave. But don't forget for a moment that at the end of the day, when you put nepotism aside and merit aside and everything else, Bollywood is only driven by money and profit. That is the only thing that drives the movie industry. So, and you hear about films, small budget films.
No, but you hear about all this Bollywood mafia kind of thing that if you run so-and-so's film,
Yeah.
then we won't release our film.
No,
with you.
that's true. But what I'm saying is that a
You can't
kalank,
show such a so-and-so movies in
kalank
cinemas.
mounted on a huge budget, if it nosedives and doesn't make you any money, is not going to be able to stand up against a Badhai Ho or a Dream Girl, which is made on 5 crores but making 60 crores or something like that, right?
You're
So
right.
at the end of the day, money talks louder than anything else.
It does, but here's one of the facts about nepotism. That if you're a star kid,
Yeah.
you can fail once, you can fail twice,
Yeah.
you can fail 3 times.
No,
you
but
can
that's
fail
because
4
your
times.
mom and dad are probably bankrolling the film, but they can only do it for as long as their money lasts, right? So what I'm saying is you're absolutely right. It is so entrenched in the way Bollywood functions that it's not something that's going to change overnight. And I'm not going to say that, all star kids are terrible. I think Alia Bhatt is a fantastic actress. I absolutely adore Alia Bhatt. She just happens to be Mahesh Bhatt's daughter and Soni Razdan's daughter and Pooja Bhatt's sister and all of that. So I'm not even saying that we should just make a clean sweep and all star kids should be shooed away. But what people are saying is that you don't even know of the kind of opportunities that we are denied simply because we don't have a godfather, simply because we don't have a name, even though we may be the more talented one in the room. So those things are completely
They
wrong.
usually end up, all these talented actors usually end up in art movies.
Art house films. I was just going to say
All
that.
the ones who've gone to the Pune Film Institute.
Yeah,
and-
FTII and
What's the one?
NSD, National
NSD,
School of
yeah,
Drama,
the Delhi one.
the Nawazuddin Siddiquis and the Irfan Khans and even Shah Rukh from Jamia Millia Islamia. I think they end up either doing art house or definitely, Shah Rukh is the only name that comes to mind who's become the king of mainstream as well. But as all of us know, Bollywood is not the only one. When you look at the world of television, you always mention this without naming any channels. There's a famous
the
news
news
channel in India.
Yeah, well, you used to read the news on a channel.
Yes.
So
Not my channel,
not
but we're
your
talking
channel,
about something
but we're
else.
talking another channel which was very close to where I
Very
live.
famous.
Very famous. It's in New Delhi.
Yeah.
There's a hint.
Yeah.
And it's a TV station in New Delhi. So we noticed 20 years ago when all these new young up and coming reporters were coming up.
Presenters, reporters.
They're all, most of them now are household names.
Yeah.
But they all had huge connections. Do you remember? Someone's dad was this, someone's uncle was that, someone's a governor,
That's how it
head
works.
of broadcasting.
Yeah. So you had...
Which I don't blame. I don't blame the TV company because they had access to.
That's what
More
gave them
information,
access
that
to
more
the news,
information,
right?
yeah.
To the inside story, because
Yeah.
they knew that their presenters were all extremely well-connected people who had political connections, business connections, connections in showbiz. And it was a very elitist channel. And a lot of people had virtually the same things to say about that TV channel as well, what outsiders are saying about Bollywood, right? That you had to have come from a certain...
I don't think it did a Hindi version. It was
No.
just in English, wasn't
Yeah.
it? It probably still is.
So, you could see that all the presenters were from a certain school, from a certain university,
Oh, that
from
was
a
another
certain
thing. that
background.
The owner was from a certain boarding school.
Yes.
And a lot of the student presenters were from.
Alumni ended
Were-
up in
were-
one
were
role.
there as well, yeah.
So that's how the world functions. We get it. And that is not to say that the presenters weren't good. They
They
were
were very good.
competent.
Some of them are still around today and are
Still
very, very
around, and they
competent.
went on to forge wonderful careers, many of them even after they
Most of
left
them
the
have
news
left,
channel,
I think,
right?
yeah.
But the fact is that they got access to this national news channel only because, at least at the start, it felt like they got access because of their connections, because of their family names and all of that.
No, but saying that, loads of them were Oxford, Cambridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'd all studied here and gone back.
Yeah, and I think the biggest example of nepotism exists in politics. मजाक में हम लोग बोलते हैं कि अरे जानता नहीं मेरा बाप कौन है. That is one line which will work in any scenario. You just have to go and say to one poor cop who's trying to fine you for either jumping a red
Forget
light.
that. But that's the way the culture is in India. Don't you know when you have to fill up a form?
Yeah.
So doesn't it say somewhere, Baap ka naam?
Yeah, dad's name, father's name, mother's name, सब कुछ fill करना पड़ता है, right? So, and politics is again one of those things where, sadly, India is a country where I think human life is very cheap. It is a country where money talks. It is a country where political power talks. And if you have one or the other, preferably both, you can sometimes think you are completely untouchable. One particular case comes to mind because I was absolutely furious when it happened. It happened when we were in India. We used to live in India. There was this kid whose grandfather was the chief of naval staff, and he was studying in America, in a university in America, and he had come to Delhi to visit his family over the Christmas holidays. He went out with his friends one night. He got
was there,
absolutely smashed, drunk out of his mind, and still he decided to drive home that night with his friend. What did he do? He drove in Delhi ki kadake ki sardi mein, as anyone who's lived in India in a cold country will know, that these poor people who don't have houses, sometimes
lived in India in a cold country,
in a cold city, will know that there are these poor people who sleep.
They have to sleep on the pavements.
They sleep on the pavements at night. And this kid, he drove over, I don't know how many, instantly killing about 3, 4, 5 people.
I remember that story very well.
You remember, right?
And he had a very flash car.
He had a very flash car. It took the Indian legal system 10 years for this kid to be put behind bars.
That's because there was an outcry. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have been.
Only because there was a public outcry, because it was such an open and shut case. He was guilty as hell. But then suddenly, because he had the political connections and he had the money, all those witnesses who were also on the pavement, who were lucky enough to not be crushed by him, crushed to death, all those who were witnesses, suddenly, because they were paid off, suddenly you had witnesses turning hostile, witnesses disappearing, suddenly people changing their story. This kid was given bail after bail after bail after bail. The only imposition on him was that he couldn't leave the country because he was so well connected. And that makes you think. You cannot imagine a scenario like that in the West. And so I think that is why the nepotism debate, although nepotism exists everywhere in the world, it exists in every profession. It gets amplified in India, because in India there are certain people who have money and power. They are given to believe that they are completely above the law, that they are untouchable, that they can run the show the way they want.
At the same time, I was at a party and I left with my friend at about 10:30.
You're talking about Delhi, right?
Yeah, in Delhi. And then later on that evening, it was one of the celebrity parties where models and celebrities were pouring the drinks.
Oh, it was one of those charity events, right?
Yeah, and what happened was that this guy asked for a drink. He was the son of a politician. He asked for a drink. She refused to serve him, and he shot her. And that's become a very famous case.
That's another very famous case on which a movie has.
I think a movie's been made of it.
Yeah.
Do you see how we're trying to say all these stories without naming anything?
Yes. We're hoping that you know exactly who we're talking about. So what are you talking about? Even the guy who killed her, is that your point? That even he was...
It took a long time.
It took a long time for the
get justice.
Arm of the law to kind of, reach him. But you know what? In all of this, I think when tributes
so that is in a way that is nepotism, working.
Yeah, it is in a way, because it is about who you are, what your connections are, right? It may not be that you're in a position, you hold an office, which is because of your father or your grandfather or your uncle, but you feel a certain way, you behave a certain way in society and get away with almost murder in some cases because of your family connections.
Let me ask you a question. You're talking about nepotism, you're talking about politics.
Yeah.
What do you think of this dynastic politics where grandmother, father, sons, everyone takes part in this?
I think even that is a shame, because politics is not something that runs in your blood. Although, the Gandhi family is the biggest political dynasty in India, from the time of Jawaharlal Nehru. Even his father, Motilal Nehru, was part of the Indian National Congress when it was first formed. Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi.
It happens in America also. You've got the Kennedys and you've got the Bushes.
Yeah, it happens. But I think, again, it all boils down to, are you competent enough to be a leader? Because being a political leader of a country is not about academic qualification. It's not even about having the empathy and feeling that you need to do something for the people. It calls for a very unique set of skills which may or may not be inherited, which may or may not be passed down in your DNA. So again, I think the debate comes down to, sometimes in politics especially, people vote emotionally, right? It's because people held JFK in high regard that they decided to vote for somebody else, for people who represented his family. It's because Indira Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru meant so much to so many people that Rajiv Gandhi was virtually swept into politics where he knew nothing about politics, right? And he learned everything on the job. Rahul Gandhi is still in politics only because of the name, right? So I think it's something that happens everywhere.
But what do you think of... going back to Bollywood.
Yeah.
What do you think of outsiders who do make it?
Yeah.
Full credit to them.
Yeah.
I'm thinking especially of people like Kangana. She's standing up, taking on the whole establishment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Because
there must be...
There's that very famous story about that Vogue Vogue magazine story
Yeah.
that she said recently.
Yeah, that after
they
she
didn't
did
put her on
fashion,
the cover.
after she did fashion with Priyanka Chopra, they put Priyanka on the cover. They refused to put her on the cover, saying that you're not an A-lister. Or she says that I wasn't styled by the head stylist, or somebody else came to style me. I think Kangana, what she's doing is very brave. I don't agree with the way she goes about bulldozing some issues and some people. Sometimes she makes it very personal, and I definitely
don't agree with the inner coterie.
Her inner coterie and her team, especially that odious sister. I absolutely have nothing to say about them. But I think she definitely is doing something very brave, and she's at least shining a light on these areas and talking about these big names who people are very scared to talk about, So
she called out the fashion editor.
She called out the fashion editor. She called out an actor who she had an affair with, and she said that, he's completely using me to get out of this mess and kind of giving me a bad name, because anyway, people think of me as this small town. In a recent interview, she said that I want to become, by the time I'm 50, I want to be one of the richest people in India. And then she gave her reasoning for it. Kangana Ranaut said that when I first came here, I didn't think about money. I didn't think that I'm going to be a high earner or whatever. I just wanted to make it big in Bollywood, right? But she said that then I started seeing how if women are not seen financially ambitious, men actually put them down. They don't think too highly of them. They think, अरे ये तो 2-3 फिल्में करके, इसको अच्छे कपड़े दे दो, कपड़े पहन लेगी, 2-3 shoots कर लेगी, खुश रहेगी. इस पैसे इसे देने की कोई जरूरत नहीं, in the sense that she can still be, pay parity doesn't count when it comes to her. She said that
it still hasn't improved much, has it?
Still hasn't improved. And she said that then gradually, as my film started doing well and I started gaining a foothold, I realized that I was just as ambitious even financially. I wanted to have my own office. I wanted to build a nice house in the mountains for my mom and dad. I wanted financial security for myself and for my loved ones.
She's built a beautiful office by the way.
So she says that,
and she has most amazing flat, whatever, in Manali, I think. Not a flat house.
It's a mansion in the mountains. So she says that it was because of what I saw around me that made me realize that unless you have money and power, she said that's when I said to myself, ठीक है, so let me go after money then. Maybe then people will take me seriously. Right now people think of me as this small town girl who can't speak English properly, and they'd write me off because I don't have money. When my film started doing well, that is when I decided that, right, enough is enough. I want the money as well, along with the fame. And that is why she says that it's one of my to-do things to be one of my... I don't know if that is the right reason.
No, but I do agree with her there that she was looked down upon because her English wasn't good.
Her English wasn't good.
I think I can't understand the logic there because the movies are in Hindi.
Yeah, but
Why
you know how it is.
Again,
I think we've done a whole podcast on that India must be one of the few countries where people take great pride in saying, our Hindi is very bad. मुझे अपनी मातृभाषा नहीं आती, मैं तो कॉन्वेंट स्कूल की पढ़ी हुई हूँ, मुझे सिर्फ इंग्लिश मीडियम स्कूल में मैं गई हूँ, तो मुझे सिर्फ इंग्लिश आती है. Must be one of the few countries where people say that with great pride. How sad is that?
So we normally do about 15-20 minutes. We have to wrap up soon, but just before we wrap up, what did you think of I forgot her name now, Sonam Kapoor.
Yeah, I think that was very insensitively worded. Sonam Kapoor said that on Father's Day, she said, no, about Kangana, Sonam...
No, Karma.
Yeah. I
Karma.
Sonam Kapoor said on
Sorry,
Father's Day...
Sorry, I speak in Angrezi for you, Karma.
Yeah. Sonam Kapoor said that, I'm proud to be Anil Kapoor's daughter on Father's Day, blah, 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 because he's worked very hard to get where he is, and it's just my karma that I was born his daughter, which I thought was very insensitively worded, when tributes came pouring in for Sushant, and it felt like Bollywood was only a place of doom and gloom where outsiders didn't stand a chance, where merit didn't count at all. I think there was one tribute that really touched me, and I want to highlight that because we want to end on something positive. It was Anupam Kher. He did a video message and he spoke to hopefuls. He says that Mumbai is a city of dreams. Millions come to Mumbai every single day from these small towns and villages from up and down the country to make it big, thinking that one day, someday, we're going to be the next Shah Rukh, we're going to be the next Salman. Yeah. So he says to all those people, I would like to say, 39 years ago when I came to Mumbai, I was written off completely, even though I came from drama school. They said to me, अरे इसको देखो जरा, हाँ, हिंदी मीडियम स्कूल से आया है, केकड़े की तरह पतला है, गंजा है, इसका क्या होने वाला है, हाँ? I was completely sidelined. What I would like to say to all those people is, do not give up. Do not, आपने अपनी fight बीच में नहीं रोकनी है, क्योंकि Bollywood is also...
Wasn't his first movie, didn't he play an old man?
I don't know if it was his first.
It was one of his
initial films.
Movies,
in Saransh, yeah, and he won so many awards. He won so many awards for it. He says कि आपने अपनी fight को बीच में नहीं रोकना है. If you're passionate about acting, if you know your craft, you have learned your craft, and this is the only thing that you want to do in life, don't give up thinking that, oh, I have stand no chance, because Bollywood also has some good elements. It also has some good people who will give you a chance. True that you will have to fight that much harder. And then he ended on this poem, which I believe is Harivansh Rai Bachchan's poem, Koshish Karne Walon ki kabhi haar nahi hoti.
Love,
which is
poem.
Absolutely beautiful.
You still remember it?
I'm going to recite a few lines. I have it in front of me because I don't remember all of it. I think I'm going to concentrate on the last verse, which really, really sums it up. And that was Anupam Kher's closing lines in his video message as well, which is it starts by saying, लहरों से डरकर नौका पार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती. असफलता एक चुनौती है, इसे स्वीकार करो. क्या कमी रह गई देखो और सुधार करो. जब तक न सफल हो नींद चैन को त्यागो तुम, संघर्ष का मैदान छोड़कर मत भागो तुम. कुछ किए बिना ही जय जयकार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती.
Beautiful. इसी सोच में let's say अलविदा.
इसी बात पर अलविदा. And we'll catch you again, of course, with another podcast. We have so much to talk about, but today we thought we will talk about nepotism, one of the big debates following Sushant Singh Rajput's very tragic suicide. I mean, no tribute will ever fill the gap, the void that he's left, not only in the hearts of his family and friends, but in the hearts of film lovers.
And let's hope that there is a change in the making.
That he hasn't just given up his life in vain, and that there is a change.
Till next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.